Hello and welcome. My name is Eric Farewell here at Aviator Paramotor in Central Florida. Super stoked to have you guys here for today's video. It's probably our most requested video, and it's one that we've made and now we're remaking because I wanted to make it better, bring in some of the great minds from our instructors at the schoolhouse and let us share with you how to choose the right wing. Whether you are a brand new baby pilot, someone who hasn't even flown yet, or someone who's looking to learn to kite, this decision can seem monstrous. As you guys are scanning through Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, eBay, you've seen all sorts of ads. Ads for every kind of glider under the sun. They all have funky names, and most of them are from 1997. There are all these old wings that people are trying to get rid of that have been clogging up their closet. I want to talk to you guys about beginner gliders and advanced gliders. I want to talk to you about what you should look for in a wing and some of the favorite wings that I fly. Now, I'm not brand elitist. I think that pretty much every paramotor glider brand out there is great. I mean, quite frankly, the motors that we fly are not great. They're always, they're two strokes. But the wings are incredible. These guys have built so much technology into our gliders over the last 10 years. We've seen massive, massive changes from lightweight fabric to battens to shark nose, reflex. The things that these gliders can do today that they couldn't do a decade ago are incredible. I think that right now is truly the best time to get into this sport. It's that opportunity where the safety and the technology have melded together, and it has actually made it much, much easier to learn to fly. So we'll get right into it, guys. We're going to talk some about our good friends, beginner gliders. Beginner gliders are defined by A and B ratings. Now, an A and B rating is something given by the EN Foundation or EN company in France. And what they do is they actually take these gliders up and they test the snot out of them. They will take them off on a paraglider launch. They launch it at appropriate weights, lightly weighted, heavily weighted. They check all the different weight ranges that are still safe. They practice stalling it, spinning it, collapsing it, and seeing how the glider recovers. Because imagine you're flying along, you happen to cross the path of a 747, and that massive weight turbulence falls off the wingtips and takes you out. It takes that glider out, it crunches it up. To be an A wing, a beginner wing, a true A beginner glider, that wing has to recover in a certain number of feet with a certain amount of turn, and it has to do it with zero pilot intervention. That means the pilot, you, do nothing. You just sit there and the wing fixes itself. That's exactly what you want as a beginner. You want a glider that's going to be keeping you safe as you've made bad decisions flying in 747s or thunderstorms or whatever it is. You want to be picking a glider that's going to keep you safer throughout the entire process of your training and piloting journey. Now, a B glider, for instance, so we have A. I'm terrible at whiteboards, guys, fair warning. We have A gliders and we have B gliders. There's also C and D, which is down here. Those are the areas you don't want to go to. A is beginner, B is intermediate, C would be advanced, and D would be expert pilot. These are gliders that are far beyond your limited skill as a beginner. Now, as you go, you do want to look towards your progression. When do you want to move forward? And we'll talk about that later in the video. But this A glider requires no pilot intervention. It will refill with air and keep you safely on your way, given that you have enough altitude and that we still recommend a reserve chute. There's lots of good redundancies. But that A glider has something that's called a very wide aspect ratio. So the aspect ratio is the distance from here to here and from here to here. Okay, so the cord of this wing is thicker than most. This is designed to keep you more safe. Now, it's higher drag, it's slower, it has less efficiency because it has this deep cord. So the aspect ratio is really working both for you and against you. And that's why a lot of people will say that the terrible words, which are, I don't want to buy a beginner wing because I don't want to buy a wing that I'm bored with in 6 months. This, I think, is the craziest thing that people say in this sport, and it's very common. You guys have probably seen videos like that. My belief is that the beginner glider is the wing that you will keep with you forever. It's the Swiss Army knife of paramotor wings. It's the wing that you will choose to fly when it's a little bit too turbulent. It's the wing that you'll learn to hover around on when it's windy. It's the wing that you might learn to thermal on if your skills can encompass that. It's still today, after I've been flying for over 8 years, or just about 8 years now, it's still today the wing that I fly the most. And luckily, because of our schoolhouse, we're always rotating in new gliders and making sure we have our used stuff leaving. And I get to fly the latest and greatest beginner gliders every week. And we have every size. So some days I'll go up and I'll fly overloaded on an extra small and get that dynamic tendencies and turning. And although I'm outside the weight range, which means I'm outside of the certification, it's still a lot of fun. And I have a lot more faith in that than I do in my uncertified gliders. Because uncertified gliders, while they're ridiculously fun, when things go wrong, things happen much faster and require massive pilot intervention to overcome. So having a beginner glider that you can keep in your car or keep in your house as a backup wing, you're never going to get bored of it. I promise you that. It's going to make you a better pilot because it's going to force you to perfectly time every maneuver. All your brake inputs have to be more carefully timed. But the thing I like about it most is how it keeps me safe. As a beginner, you get in the air the first time. Let's say you pull too much brake and you hold that brake too long. On a more advanced glider, the glider would stall and fall behind you and you'd come plummeting down, right? On a proper beginner glider, something like the Ozone Mojo Power, something like the Spark 2, there's tons of brands out there. We sell Ozone. It's my favorite glider brand because I really believe in their company's ethos about keeping people safer, about really working to design wings that you have to work to put them in a dangerous configuration, and they just do an amazing job. So while lots of paraglider brands are incredible, for me, Ozone is my favorite, simply because I've had the opportunity to sit down with the designers and discuss their thought process, discuss exactly what goes into each wing and the ways they work to keep people safe as possible, to really make it more challenging to put those wings in dangerous situations. I think it's fantastic. So that's what we're going to talk about right now, primarily our Ozone wings, but this information does apply to pretty much every other brand out there. So whatever brand you like, whatever color you prefer, most of them are very good, especially if they're EN certified. They've gone through a rigorous testing protocol, and I like the bigger brands simply because they have lots of people who are testing them out, so that you get up in the sky for the first time, you're not a test pilot. You want to be flying stuff that's been well proven and has great design ethos. So we talked some about the A wings and how they're going to have a very large chord. They're going to be in this position because it keeps you more safe. It makes it more stable. That wing is more difficult to turn. The wing is more challenging to fly fast because it has a very small trim range. The trim range being the trailing edge of the wing, allowing it to come up, right? So what most pilots end up doing after they've come to our school, they go home with a Mojo. And then a good group of them, if their budget doesn't allow them to buy 2 wings in the first year or two, they'll end up buying a B wing. Now, a B wing would be something like the Ozone Spider, which is actually not a certified wing, but it's a copy of the Roadster 3, which is the heavier fabric. The Spider is a lighter fabric. The Spider 3 is a fantastic wing, as is the Roadster 3. And those gliders are going to have a little bit different aspect ratio. And the reason for that is because as you progress into the higher classifications of wings, your aspect ratio goes longer, right? Same size wing, but a different aspect ratio, reducing the amount of drag, giving you a lot more input control with the brakes so you can make more steep turns with less effort. And also, we do lose some of our safety. So we talked about the 747 blowing you out of the sky with an A wing. That wing is designed to react with 0 pilot intervention. A B wing is going to require some pilot intervention to have it reopen within the certification specifications, which that's a big mouthful. And you can read all the certification specifications on Ozone's website, and I believe on ours as well. You can also just Google EN certification and see videos of how all this stuff is done. It's really, really interesting. But this glider is going to have this longer planform, and generally it will have a much larger riser system, so a much longer trim system. So that longer trim system is going to allow you to release more and more trim, allowing that trailing edge of the wing to go from a standard, where it's being dragged through the air by your paramotor. You know, you're sitting down here all happy. Now you take that same idea, I gotta put a smiley face on it, otherwise he's not happy, all right? The same idea we take here, and we would release the trailing edge so it actually goes up. That would be called reflex. So that reflex, that's a terrible reflex wing, but you get the idea. That trailing edge releases out, allowing the wing to start shifting forward to increase its overall speed. Now, reflex wings are incredible. This is one of the biggest design changes in the last 10 years, really more like 15 years now, I suppose. They allow you to take a paraglider and fly at very high rates of speed. However, if something does go wrong, it's much more violent because you have more pressure, more speed. It becomes more challenging. A lot of pilots say that you can't collapse a reflex wing. I say to them that you also couldn't sink the Titanic. It's definitely possible. I have flown some incredible places. In the Czech Republic about 7 years ago, we were flying for 10 days, a whole group of us, all on reflex wings, all on full bar, all of us punching holes in the sky, and the reality was not one of us had a collapse. But I knew that if we had that situation, in fact, another story here, I was flying home from Jeff Gowen's house one day, and I'm on full bar, full reflex, and I hit the mother of all thermals, and I dumped my speed bar, the speed bar being the item that pulls the wing even further forward, makes it go even faster, and boom, had a massive collapse, right? That's why I like to fly with a reserve. So it's certainly possible, but you need to understand what the risks are. As a beginner, as someone who's considering what glider to buy, this A glider is going to keep you safer. It's going to make it easier to kite because you're going to be making big hand inputs early on that you shouldn't be making, and this will make it more forgiving for you. And it will really encourage you to be the best pilot you can be. So, highly recommend that you look into an A-rated wing. And if you'd like more information on where you can find them, feel free to check out the links in the description. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. We'd love to have you. We do a live stream every Tuesday night, or at least most Tuesday nights, right here on this YouTube channel. We'd love to share that with you. It's a great opportunity to jump in and ask questions about your personal experience and things that you might not know about paramotoring. As always, thank you for being here, and we're always here to serve. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.